Look at your hands for a moment. Everything you will ever build will be built with these. Everything you will ever lose will be lost by how you use them. You don't get a rehearsal. You don't get a reset button. You don't get a backup life stored somewhere in heaven's cloud. You have owning Liu F and you have own Ekans E. And what you do with this moment will decide the story you tell at the end of your days, waiting for confidence to show up, waiting for people to clap before you move. But let me tell you something, time is not waiting on you. While you are overthinking, life is moving. While you are hesitating, opportunities are passing. While you are afraid to fail, your potential is quietly dying. You were not created to merely exist. You were born to stand up, step out, and show the world why you are here. Because when this life is over, nobody will ask how scared you were. They will ask what you did with the chance you were given. Some of you are waiting for permission to live. You don't get a second draft in this life. What you live today is not a practice run, not a warm up, not a preview of something better coming later. This is the real thing. Every morning you wake up, the clock is already moving, and it does not slow down because you are unsure, afraid, or unready. Life does not pause while you figure yourself out. It keeps writing the story whether you show up fully or not. Too many people treat life like they can edit it later. They tell themselves, I'll start when I feel confident. I'll change when things calm down. I'll go after it when the timing is right. But the truth is, there is no later version of today waiting for you. Every moment you postpone becomes a moment you can never revisit. Words you never spoke stay forever unsaid. Chances you never took don't come back wearing a different name. Every choice you make leaves a mark. The jobs you stayed in too long, the dreams you buried to please people, the calls you were supposed to make, the risks you talked yourself out of. None of that disappears. It shapes who you become. And one day you will look back and realize that the life you are living is the result of thousands of small decisions you thought didn't matter at the time. This is why procrastination is so dangerous. It doesn't feel like failure. It feels harmless. It feels reasonable. But quietly, slowly, it steals chapters from your life. You don't wake up one day and lose your purpose. You lose it by telling yourself you have more time than you actually do. Understand this, no one gets to rewrite their story. You don't get to go back and be braver. You don't get to go back and speak up. You don't get to go back and love harder or try again. You only get this moment right now with all its imperfections and uncertainties. And the power you have is not in controlling the outcome, but in deciding how fully you show up. When your life reaches its final page, it will not ask what you plan to do. It will only reflect what you actually did. So live in a way that doesn't require editing. Make choices that don't need apologies later. Step forward now, because this page you are on will soon be turned and it will never be written again. Fear is one of the most misunderstood forces in a person's life. It doesn't always show up loud and dramatic. Most of the time, it whispers. It sounds reasonable. It tells you to be careful, to wait, to play it safe, to not risk embarrassment or rejection. And before you realize it, fear has negotiated you out of the very life you were meant to live. It doesn't attack you head on. It slowly convinces you to settle. Fear doesn't stop your heartbeat, but it stops your momentum. It keeps you circling the same ideas, the same dreams, the same what ifs without ever letting you step forward. You start imagining failure so vividly that success feels unrealistic. You replay worst case scenarios until courage feels irresponsible. And the longer you listen to fear, the smaller your world becomes. What makes fear so dangerous is that it disguises itself as wisdom. It tells you that you're being mature, that you're being realistic, that you're protecting yourself. But protection can turn into a prison. You can be so focused on not losing that you never give yourself a chance to win. Fear doesn't need to defeat you. It just needs to delay you long enough for doubt to harden into identity. Over time, fear changes how you see yourself. You stop saying, I can, and start saying, people like me don't. You shrink your dreams to match your comfort zone. You lower your expectations so disappointment won't hurt as much. But in doing that, you trade possibility for predictability, and the cost is always higher than you think. Fear also steals your voice. It keeps you quiet in rooms where your ideas matter. It keeps you silent when your truth needs to be spoken. It convinces you that staying unseen is safer than being exposed. But greatness has never lived in hiding. Every meaningful step forward requires you to risk being misunderstood, judged, or even rejected. Here's the truth fear doesn't want you to face. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision that what you want, what you believe, and who you are becoming matters more than what you are afraid of. Fear will always be present at the edge of growth. The question is not whether fear will show up, but whether it gets to decide your direction. If you let fear lead, it will take you nowhere. Slowly, quietly, respectably. And one day you'll realize that the greatest danger was never failure. It was living a life that was never truly lived. Waiting feels harmless, but it is one of the most powerful decisions you will ever make. Every time you say, not now, you are not standing still. You are choosing a direction. Life does not exist in neutral. While you are waiting, something else is moving forward without you. Opportunities shift, seasons change, and doors quietly close, not out of cruelty, but because time never negotiates. Many people believe waiting means they are avoiding mistakes. They think patience is the same as wisdom. But there is a difference between preparing and postponing. Preparation has intention. Waiting often has fear hiding behind it. You tell yourself you need more information, more confidence, more money, more approval. But the truth is, readiness is rarely something you feel. It is something you step into. Every delayed decision carries a cost. Relationships weaken when words are left unspoken. Dreams lose their urgency when they are constantly rescheduled. Momentum dies not from failure, but from hesitation. The longer you wait, the heavier the first step feels, until eventually even moving at all seems impossible. Waiting also trains your mind to accept less. You get used to watching instead of participating. You become comfortable analyzing other people's courage while doubting your own. Over time, you stop expecting change and you start explaining why change isn't realistic for you. That explanation becomes your comfort zone, and comfort slowly replaces calling. The dangerous part is that waiting rarely looks like quitting. On the outside, you still look hopeful. You still talk about what you're going to do one day, but inside, belief is eroding, passion cools, vision fades. And by the time you realize what waiting has taken from you, you've already lost years you cannot recover. Life responds to movement. Clarity comes after action, not before it. Confidence is built by doing, not by thinking. You don't wait until you feel ready to step forward. You step forward and readiness catches up to you. The moment you choose, momentum follows. At the end of your life, you won't regret the steps you took that didn't work. You will regret the moments you stood still when you should have moved. Waiting is not the absence of choice. It is the choice to let circumstances, fear, or other people decide for you. And when you finally understand that waiting is a decision, you also realize something powerful. You can decide differently right now. Pain has a way of convincing you that it came to destroy you. When it first hits, it feels unfair, personal, and overwhelming. You ask why it happened, why it had to be you, why it had to hurt this much. But pain is not random, and it is not wasted unless you let it be. What broke you open was never meant to break you apart. Every wound leaves behind information. Pain teaches you what comfort never could. It exposes your limits, your attachments, your illusions, and your strength. When life was easy, you didn't have to dig deep. When everything was stable, you didn't have to grow. But pain demands change. It forces you to confront who you are and who you can no longer afford to be. What you go through reshapes how you see the world. Betrayal sharpens your discernment. Loss deepens your compassion. Failure humbles you and refines your character. Struggle gives you a language that only survivors understand. You don't just come out of pain with scars. You come out with insight, perspective, and a strength you didn't know you had. The danger is not the pain itself. The danger is staying in it. When pain is not processed, it turns into bitterness. When it is not understood, it turns into fear. When it is not healed, it becomes a filter through which you see everything else. But when you face it honestly, pain becomes a teacher instead of a prison. You were never meant to relive your worst moments forever. You were meant to learn from them. The same experience that tried to silence you can become the source of your voice. The thing that almost broke you can become the thing that gives you authority. People don't connect to perfection. They connect to survival, to resilience, to truth. There is purpose hidden in what hurt you, not because the pain was good, but because you grew through it. Your pain has positioned you to understand, to lead, to help, and to speak in ways others cannot. It gave you depth. It gave you empathy. It gave you a story that can pull someone else out of darkness. You don't have to glorify the pain, but you do have to recognize its role. What you survived was not meant to end you. It was meant to prepare you. And when you stop asking why it happened and start asking what it produced, pain transforms from a burden into power. Comfort is quiet, familiar, and dangerously convincing. It doesn't demand much from you. It lets you repeat yesterday without resistance. It tells you that staying where you are is safer than stepping into the unknown. And before you realize it, comfort has made a home inside you, not to protect you, but to contain you. Nothing extraordinary grows in comfort. Comfort feeds maintenance, not transformation. It keeps you good when you were called to be great. It trains you to manage your life instead of maximizing it. You can be comfortable and still be unhappy. You can be comfortable and still feel unfulfilled, because comfort does not satisfy purpose. It silences it. Comfort numbs urgency. It makes dreams negotiable. You start saying things like, it's not that bad, or at least I'm stable, while a deeper part of you knows you are meant for more. But comfort convinces you to ignore that voice. It teaches you to tolerate instead of pursue, to settle instead of stretch. The most dangerous thing about comfort is that it feels like peace, but peace without progress becomes stagnation. Growth always requires tension. Muscles grow by resistance. Minds expand by challenge. Faith deepens through uncertainty. Every version of you that has ever evolved did so because comfort was disrupted. Comfort also reshapes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as a risk taker, a builder, a dreamer. You start seeing yourself as someone who doesn't want to rock the boat. Over time, you become loyal to routines that no longer serve you and relationships that no longer sharpen you. You protect what is familiar even when it costs you what is possible. Greatness requires discomfort. It demands early mornings, hard conversations, lonely seasons, and unpopular decisions. It asks you to trade convenience for calling, and that trade is never easy. But comfort will never challenge you to become more than you are. It will only reward you for staying the same. If you wait until the path feels safe, you will never move. If you wait until the risk disappears, you will never grow. The very discomfort you are avoiding is the doorway to the next version of you. Comfort will keep you alive, but it will never make you feel fully alive. The moment you choose growth over comfort, everything changes. You stop asking what feels easy and start asking what matters. And in that shift, greatness finally has room to rise. One day, life will call your name for the last time, not with drama, not with warning, but with certainty. And in that moment, what will matter is not how long you lived, but how fully you poured yourself into the life you were given. To be found empty at the end is not a tragedy. It is the highest honor. It means there was nothing left undone because you gave everything you had while you were here. So many people reach the end carrying unused potential. They arrive with dreams still sealed, words still unspoken, gifts still hidden. Their bodies are tired, but their purpose was never exhausted. That is a quiet kind of loss, one that doesn't make headlines, but echoes in eternity. You were not created to save your best for later. Later is not promised. Living empty means you spent your energy on what mattered. You loved without holding back. You tried even when success was uncertain. You spoke up even when your voice trembled. You showed up fully, knowing it might cost you comfort, approval, or security. You did not wait for perfect conditions. You moved with imperfect courage. To be found empty means you refuse to let fear, bitterness, or regret sit inside you. You released what hurt you instead of carrying it. You forgave so you could move forward. You stopped hoarding your strength and started investing it. You understood that what you keep eventually weighs you down, but what you give becomes legacy. Life does not reward those who play it safe. It remembers those who were faithful to their calling. When you pour yourself out, you leave something behind that outlives you, impact in people, wisdom in words, change in environments you once touched. Your life becomes more than a personal journey. It becomes a contribution. Being empty at the end does not mean you had no rest or joy. It means you did not waste your days protecting yourself from living. You allowed life to stretch you, refine you, and use you. You understood that exhaustion from purpose is far better than rest from avoidance. When your time comes, let it find you without excuses, without regrets, without what-ifs. Let it find you empty because you held nothing back. You showed up, you gave fully. And in doing so, you lived the only way a life is meant to be lived, completely. So hear me when I say this. Don't leave here the same way you came in. Don't walk out carrying excuses that no longer fit you. This moment is calling your name, and life is waiting on your response. You have one life, not two. One chance, not a rehearsal. Stand up in your spirit, shake off fear, and step into what has been waiting on you. Move while you still have breath. Give while you still have strength. Live while you still have time. And when it's over, let heaven say, you used it all.